you're putting posters out saying, I'll work for free, just give me a cool project. I need to get published in New York Times. Let's do this.
I love that version. We should go with that.
Hi. Hello.
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 Hello and welcome to Architecting.
This is a podcast about the lives of architects.
About the people and stories behind the buildings that we see around us and the images that brought them to life.
And with the very international world that we live in,
this show will purposefully be local and narrow,
only focusing on the Colorado community of designers.
Hi, I'm the host of Architecting, Adam Wagner. I'm a Denver-based architect. I'm married to an architect. I have 2 architecture degrees, and I've worked for a dozen different architecture firms in 3 different countries. But for these last 5 years, I've been rooted in Denver, where I am at Open Studio Architecture, and I teach at the University of Colorado, Denver. I love connecting with other designers and learning from their experiences. Now I'm broadcasting these stories with the goal of creating a stronger local community. So that brings us to Architecting's first interior designer, Heidi Mendoza. So Heidi was an early supporter of the show, someone who I hadn't met before, who reached out and commented on some of our episodes. I looked her up and was pretty interested in her background and invited her on the show to hear more. So as you'll hear in this episode, Heidi has a pretty unique career arc. She grew up in Finland and tried her hand at business school and then TV and radio broadcasting. She was also in a band for a while and lived in France before moving to California and completing a degree at the Interior Design Institute in Newport Beach. So Heidi has navigated the design field as a working mom with less full-time industry experience as others. But through this, is really building her practice and engaging with the Colorado design community and business concepts in some interesting and innovative ways. So with her project, I think she's really taking her kind of innate Scandinavian design sensibilities and merging them nicely into our Colorado context. And I know the audio quality in this interview isn't great. I'm working on that. Anyways, hope you enjoy Heidi's story. Does that work?
It does. I just have to figure out, I got this stand and how is this going to stand there?
Okay. You had prepped it all perfectly. And
I know. And then, yeah. How are you?
Good. Yeah, I'm really good. How's your day going?
Pretty good, working on some projects, and it's been pretty mellow day.
So are you at your home right now?
Yeah, I work from my home office.
Nice. It looks like some good light in there.
Yeah.
Good working space.
Yes.
Nice pictures.
Oh yeah, that's my family.
You put pictures of your family up so you can say, okay, I can see you. You don't need to come in and interrupt me while I'm working.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly it. Yes. What you have there. Some models. Yeah,
threw up some old grad school models in my my recording studio, which is my kitchen pantry and my coat closet here. It's
okay.
It's a nice, real
setup
small space. Yeah. I was having a meeting with some people from my work the other day, and they thought that I was in a bathroom, a little powder room, sitting on a toilet having a meeting. But it's about the same size, but it works pretty well for yeah.
And that's what they thought you were.
Yeah, come on.
I know. Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on. This is nice. We've never met. We had a nice little short phone call yesterday where I kept kind of saying okay, don't tell me too much. Don't tell me too many stories. I want to let's get this on tape first. And yeah. But
I was freaking about the technical stuff, and then you assured that it's not that difficult, and you were right.
Yeah, it always seems hard, but we get it to work.
Yeah.
But no, yeah, I'll say I'm saying you're the first interior designer we get to have on the show, and it's very architect focused, but I want it will be designer focused and kind of built environment focused. So
Yeah.
thanks
Okay.
for being the first one and trying it out.
Yeah, I feel very special.
Nice. Well, yeah, since I don't know you, who are you? Who's Heidi
Um,
Mendoza?
who's Heidi
In
Mendoza?
in two sentences. It's
Two
like
sentences.
a design school prompt, Like what's the idea in two sentences?
Yeah. Okay. I'm interior designer, mom. I'm Finnish. Um, what else? INFJ personality type. So
Ah,
introverted, intuitive feeling. And if I read correctly, I approach life thoughtful and with imagination.
nice.
That's
So
Heidi.
that's Heidi. Perfect. That's one of the most distinct, like clear definitions that we've had. I like that.
Okay.
So let's talk about you kind of comment on some of the stuff, and just some really nice comment and engagement, and I I I definitely like stalk a lot of architects and designers, and so I jumped on your LinkedIn and was just impressed by the kind of varied background that you had, and it seemed like there'd be some good stories. So let's dive
Mm-hmm.
in. So yeah, so you said you're Finnish, so you were born in
Mm-hmm.
Finland. Tell me about
Yes,
that.
born and raised. I was born and raised in Finland, so like 30 minutes north from Helsinki. And I was in my 30s when I moved to US. So I
Hmm.
moved to Orange County, California in 2001, lived there 6 years, and then we moved to Denver or Castle Rock.
So that's really, there's a lot of interesting things in there, but so grew
Mm-hmm.
up outside of Helsinki. So what is
Mm-hmm.
it? What was it like? Was it still a fairly like kind of urban situation that far out of Helsinki? Or was it kind of more rural? Or what was your
More
childhood like?
rural. Actually, Järvenpää is the city that I grew up in. It's very similar to Castle Rock. I think
Hmm.
the amount of people live here is the same amount. So it's a small town. But I worked in Helsinki, so I was there a lot. And Helsinki,
Well,
I don't know if you ever been. It changed quite a bit in 20 years. It's a very much a metropolitan small one, but
yeah, no, I haven't actually. It's one place
yeah.
I haven't got to. So how's it changed? What was it like? What was it like growing up there for you?
It's more, I think, well, when you grow up in Finland, the design is kind of woven in everyday life. So everything has purpose and function, and the architecture has been prominent, throughout the years. But I think it's become more interesting. Like, there's lot more new built. So I think architectural wise and design, it's become a long way.
That's really interesting because it was like, because at the turn of the century it was pretty progressive there, right? When you have like kind
Mm-hmm.
of the Eliel Saarinen kind of things going on, and the kind of twist on, yeah, where they're getting into early modernism, and then obviously with Alto, right? Like,
Yeah.
so when you're talking about the design that you were interwoven with, what was it? Was it kind of an Alto kind of sense, or was it like something older?
I would say Alto. And
Hmm.
I feel like in it's I don't know how to explain it, but design is just a big part of the culture. I
And
wonder if it's the introvert too, that we make everything, and it's a small country, so it's very convenient. I love when I go home, the airport is, you walk in and out. and everything is super well structured, and you kind of it doesn't take you hours and hours like I feel here or anywhere else in Europe where you walk hours to get out. It's like we are very, how do you say, everything is very practical, and that's how I think it's like everything is designed.
Yeah. And was it, I mean, obviously this is long before your time, but like, was Alto a real kind of watershed within the culture, or was he just the most famous kind of designer internationally? You know, like, what was his design sensibility? Was it kind of part of this group and this culture before him, and he kind of elevated it, and then the culture and the countries like held on to that, you know? Or
Yeah, I think Alto is still very much present in you don't have to go just to museum to find it, or
right.
and
Yeah.
he provides inspiration too. I actually enjoy when I go back home. I usually try to go around August, towards the end of August, because we have the Helsinki Design Week. And while Saarinen and Aalto are the icons, I enjoy seeing the upcoming new designers. And I see a lot of influence there, but also them bringing new elements to design, and new kind of like the architecture is more, it's getting away a little bit from that Aalto era too.
And that's kind of been the last that's been the last 20 or 10 years, kind of like
10,
a real
I
shift
would say
finally, like
10, yeah, 15 years. There is a very cool, I have to send you email that link after this. It's called löyly. It's a word for sauna, when you throw water into whatever that word is in English. So it's a restaurant, and it's like partly hanging over the sea, and it's like a big terrace, and it's restaurant, but it's also a public sauna, because we just have to incorporate sauna in everything. Like we have a Ferris wheel in the center of Helsinki that has the usual, like, what are those little things called where you sit, and one is champagne bar, and then there's sauna. It's
really?
2 people in it. Yeah,
it's
crazy.
it's a sauna car that you go.
It's a sauna car, yeah, and it's functioning, and we are crazy people. So löyly is kind of like a gathering place. It's public sauna, and then there's a restaurant and the big terrace where you're kind of over the sea sitting there. And it won an international award for architecture last year. It's a very cool building, but it's not something, it's not like Aalto, or because a lot of Helsinki is like half from the era when we were part of Russia, or then the super minimalistic. So that's, I guess, what I was talking about is more like what löyly looks like. It's
yeah, because who's that by? Who was the architect on that?
It's all the architects, and then actually the designer is a friend of mine who went to school in Newport Beach, California, same time with me. She worked, I think, 6 years with Gensler, moved back to Finland, and she was the designer for that. So,
who was the architect?
All the architecture.
Oh, okay.
So it's similar to Alva. It's the same.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Just a little twist. So, so what did your family do growing up? What was your kind of setup? Was it design based as well? Yeah.
No, entrepreneurs, and that's why my life has been kind of like zigzag between art and other careers. So I went to business school, and I got a degree on marketing and accounting. And I think it was my last year when I realized that this is really not maybe my forte. And I have already applied to a broadcasting, TV and radio broadcasting school. And my accounting teacher told me that, that's probably going to be more for you. But I did work as an executive assistant for 10 to 12 years, both in Finland and when I moved to US. And I did some voiceovers there, and I have a funny story. I did a little radio program in Orange County for a Kaleidoscope company. It was called News from the Strange. And I would read stories of really stupid criminals, you know, the ones that will go rob a bank with ski mask on, but forgot to remove the ID tag from work that has their name and phone number or whatever. I would play music in between and then would tell these stories. And then I lived in France for a little bit. I went to travel and tourism school and lived in southern France. And then finally I gave in. Like I've danced in groups and sang in a bands and done artistic stuff. And then I moved to US and finally gave in. And I went to look at this Interior Designers Institute in Newport Beach and took a certificate course and never looked back after that.
Yeah. So how did you get to Orange County? That's not a real easy move or logical.
Not just like I decided one night that, hey, no, it's a usual story. A girl meets a boy.
So was he an American guy who was in Finland or?
Yes.
Yeah?
No, he was actually here and we met, and then after a little bit of long distance relationship, I came to visit and then decided to stay and
you're like, we don't need saunas here. It's just always nice. There's no What kind of a shock to the system? Yeah, what kind of a shock to the system was that? Was it pretty natural for you, that move?
It was. The cultural shocks were like nothing major, like carpeting. When I walked, I was like, there's carpeting everywhere. We haven't had carpeting since like 70s. So checkbooks. So it wasn't really anything major. Other than that, I was like ready for California living.
And so then design. So you had all these different, so it was business, and then it was broadcasting, and then you had music in there.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was like further away from art, and then it got closer and closer. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
And then design. So what was that choice like to finally, as you say, like give in and go and apply?
I had a friend who went to the same school, and then obviously growing in Finland, you have to be interested in architecture or hockey or Formula One. Like that's those three things. I'm kidding. But I always loved fashion, design, and architecture. So then I went to visit the school and took the certificate course. And so I didn't grow up with designer mom or architect dad or anything. But I had a lot of friends too that are industrial designers or are in graphic design or something. So it was always part of somehow my life.
And so what was that program like then? You know, I know architecture programs fairly well, but was it a degree in interior design? Was that the degree or?
Yes.
And was it a 4-year program?
Yes. And it was, still we had a lot of old school architects. So we did the whole drafting and doing blueprints and CAD was, I think AutoCAD came on my last year. And we haven't even heard SketchUp at that point. So, but yeah, it was everything, lighting, design, history of architecture, color theory, and all that.
What did you kind of gravitate towards most? And it seems like there's a wide range of things there, kind of, right? I mean,
yeah,
design obviously is a wide range, but what was the kind of most influential part for you?
In school, I
Yeah.
think I loved space planning. The problem solving was that it was more like interior architecture. I wasn't fabrics and color came later. It wasn't love at first sight with those classes. For me, it was the blueprints, drafting by hand, space planning, and then AutoCAD was my favorite when that finally was an option. Yeah.
And
More
so then,
construction documents and stuff, so not that, more, I guess, the architectural
yeah.
portion of it.
So then what did you do with it when you graduated?
I was pregnant the last year, and yes.
Wow.
Yeah, the last year of school and before graduating, and I had my son before, so it was a very easy pregnancy. I was like, oh, I can do it. Well, this was very different. I was huge, and I was wobbling on the corridor of schools, and I could barely fit between the chair and the drafting table. And my teachers were like, can you please not come here? Like, go home and we'll figure this out. I think I was 6 or 5 months pregnant only when I already looked like I'm ready to any minute. And I think my teachers were like just more terrified than I am.
But you already had one child?
I already had one child, and that's what happens. They give you the easy one first, and then they trick you into having more and more. So the first one is easy pregnancy and easy child, and then you think this is how it is. So my husband at the time, ex-husband, so he had done one of those road trips to Colorado.
Oh, really?
And he told me that, as soon as you deliver, let's move to Denver. And I grew up watching Dynasty, so I freaked out. I was like, I was used to the California, palm trees and I thought I'm just coming into this oil state and everybody wears cowboy hats and I think it was love at first sight when I visited Denver. I was immediately, I knew that was my place. It was somehow like Colorado is more like home. People are, I think that it's more laid back lifestyle and it's, the work hours are not as crazy. Like I had some jobs kind of lined up or any interviews, and then we decided to move. So that was the challenging part. I realized how big this country really is. Like I come from a school I think it's top 10 in the country. Gensler comes and recruits directly from IDI. And when I came here, people knew each other. Nobody who knew who I am. My school and after years staying home with the child, I was interviewing and looking for companies, and it was kind of hard to find the spot and then 2008 happened. So I did 2 internships and then everything collapsed and it was like, what do I do now? And I kind of started freelancing and doing my own thing. So going on my own was really not my first choice. I'm more collaborative by nature. So,
because when did you move here then?
2006.
2006.
So I stayed home with my daughter for a year, and then my time frame was 2007 and 2008. That I did 2 internships, and then everything just went crazy.
Yeah. So what you? It's funny because that's when I graduated as well, like in 2009. Getting out at that same point and like kind of, what? Yeah. How do you become more hardened or more innovative, right? In a difficult time, right? I think sometimes I'm very grateful that I came out at that time. So you had some internships and then you were like, hey, there's nothing out here. Let's I got to go out on my own. And
Yeah.
what
Nobody
happened?
was hiring.
Yeah.
I was just actively trying to network and meet with people and got some opportunities. One was Green Cube. I think it was one of the first ones. And it was one of those projects that you kind of go and do that without compensation. And I saw the potential on that project. And I think still today I get, it was published in New York Times not that long ago. It's like it never stops being interesting to people. So it was a really good call back then, and I think that is that sort of opened the doors slowly.
Yeah. Tell me
me.
about that. So what is Green Cube?
Green Cube is the first platinum LEED residential project. It's located in Lohi in Denver.
Yeah, who did it? It was.
Hold on, who was the architect? It's Architectural Workshop.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
how'd you get that? You're putting posters out saying, "I'll work for free. Just give me a cool project. I need to get published in New York Times. Let's do this."
I love that version. We should go with that. No, it was a realtor that was part of it, the project, and she was posting. I can't remember where the post was, and maybe it was Facebook, and I immediately like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm interested." And then I met with the developer, and there was another designer that was involved. She now works at Oz Architecture, I think. So we were.
Yeah. So what was the scope of it?
We got to do a little bit of everything, selecting materials and overall items or finishes in the home. But upstairs there was a little loft office and then master bedroom and master bathroom were the main areas. But also downstairs there's this cool green wall. So
Yeah.
it's hard to say. We're on the meetings and just very eager and presenting ideas, and so my handprint is a little bit all over that.
Yeah, because that's that very iconic photo, right, with the green wall.
Yeah.
There, and yeah. So you got that, and then all the projects just started rolling in, and clients just started dropping you money, and just success came in. Yeah.
Not quite that way. Yeah, it opened the doors, but it's still, you have to be active and kind of put yourself out there. I think over the years I love collaborating with architects. So there are a couple of firms that I consistently work with, and they bring me onto projects and then recommendations or referrals from clients, and it was a slow process. I'm not one of those design firms that took 3 years and they grew big. It was a lot slower for me. Maybe it's because of the Scandinavian introverted nature, or
You have a lot of fans on here on Instagram Live. They're saying you're an amazing designer, and lots of people are.
I didn't pay them.
You paid
Hey
them.
guys, I'll pay
That's
you
a
later.
good
Venmo. Send me your Venmo.
This is a good tip for everybody. Yeah, paid plants. But
exactly.
But it does seem like talk about the kind of community here, because you've had these articles written about you, and you've started different foundations, right, or organizations like the Creative Collab or the Douglas County Divas. Like, I mean, you say you're introverted, but it seems like you're a real kind of community builder as well. Are you feel that way?
I am social in a way. I'm not a hermit. It takes like that. It's funny story with the Douglas County Divas. I was one of the founders, but the idea came from these two ladies here in Castle Rock, and they wanted me to join them, and it was immediately big success. Like there was not a whole lot of networking groups for women. And first event had like 200 women, and we were not prepared. Like the restaurant had to, at some point close the doors, like we can't fit more people in here. But it was really, really, it was exhausting. Like I did it for a year, and I'm like, I can't do this anymore. Like you socialize, and we don't have small talk in Finland. It's an American invention. So I've learned it recently, kind of how to do it. But all evening, from people to people, and you at some point I was like behind some fake tree breathing on a paper bag. It's like, can I go home? But with the creative collab, that's different kind of story. So that was kind of my initial dream, is to have this collaborative firm where we all equal partners. So the architects, designers, industrial designers, graphic designers, and because that's what I kind of miss in being a sole proprietor.
Yeah.
Is the brainstorming, which is huge source of energy for me and inspiration, that I get to brainstorm with other creatives and collaborate on projects. So that's
And
how that one.
And you started that up yourself? You founded that, or who was part of that?
I found, I was the one behind the idea, and then I put the ad on Craigslist, and now I know how HR people have to feel. Like 500 resumes come in, and I'm there like going through them, and found great people, but you have to sort of find the people, the entrepreneurial types that are, because the whole point was that we all equal, and we go out, we market, and not just work together. And I think after a year, the mistake, I was kind of forming the collab around an idea instead of the people. It's sometimes hard to find the right fit. I mean, they were all great people and great designers and architects, but I realized that I'm doing all the work. I'm going out networking, all the marketing, and so it's sort of like,
because what was the idea? So it would be a company that would have all these employees from different fields, or each person had their own company and it was just a loose kind of collaboration?
I probably didn't think that through as much as I did. So we that's probably why I got started before I had the whole plan together, but it was more like equal partnership. And there were some older and wiser people who told me that that's going to be a very hard concept to do, but I gave it a try, and I'm not an employer type. I don't want to have employees. I feel like that's such a huge responsibility, and I've been listening to all these architects that own a firm. I look up to them, and I obviously know them, and how they have found the business, and how they operate it. And for me, it's more like, let's all be equal partners. And
Yeah, because that's a big dilemma, right? I mean, the idea that you start a company to be a designer and be a good designer. If you theoretically, if you're a good designer, you succeed. But then the better you get, the less design time you kind of have, right? The more people management and
yes, and that's the reason why I didn't want to do it. I have to wear all these hats, but I still get to do the design. I'd rather outsource all the paperwork management and be a designer. So
yeah, and
and it's hard.
I like that idea of the collab, but yeah, the realities of it seems like such a headache of and then trying to find enough work for each of those small professions, and
Exactly.
it takes the right people.
It does, and I think that was the issue. eventually, when we sort of like realized that this is not working out, we did use that name for like we participated in Paper Fashion Show. I'm not sure if you're familiar.
No.
It's Art Directors Club Denver is the organizer and sponsor. So you create these outfits out of paper. So it's sort of like pret-a-porter, except we use only paper. So we use that as our team name.
And then you said goodbye and good luck.
It's kind of like, there was no formal like farewell party or anything. It sort of just faded away, and then redesign happened, and
And so what was that transition like, of it was hard managing people, but at least you were around people, right? And you have people to bounce things off, and now it's all on you again. Does that fit you well, better?
I'm not sure how well, but it is what it is. But then there are like architectural firms that bring me on to their project, and then I get to work in their office environment and collaborate with their team. So
Who is that kind of community for you? Like what designers, what architects?
Obermeyer Scheiket is one. They work on a lot of actually out-of-state projects, hospitality.
Who is that? Sorry.
Obermeyer Scheiket.
Oh, okay.
They are on Blake Street in Denver. And then I recently worked on the NCAR building, the IMP famous Mesa Lab, with Veek architecture. So I got a call from David Crooms.
Yeah.
And he asked if I wanted to come and work on that project with them. And then Stanley Marketplace, track architecture, Patrick Michael. So it was one of those stories too where I saw an ad from this photo studio that they were looking for like a student designer, which means usually there's no budget for designer, and I contacted them and we met and hit it off, and then Patrick saw some of my design concepts and drawings, and he's like, who's this? And then he called me and said, I have 5 more spaces in that Stanley Marketplace. So
nice. So that's True, right? Is that the
True
one?
is one.
That one of them? And
Yeah,
what are the other
that's
ones?
one of my and from the Hip Studio, photo studio, and then there were a couple of other retail stores that I was sort of just helping, consulting with. So True was one of those projects that it's still one of my favorites, where you get kind of a blank canvas. The owner gave me a little bit of guidelines of the style and the product in the store, and then I created the concept, and she looked at it and she was like, yeah, that's it. We'll do this. And no editing or no.
You're like, are you sure? I can do a few more options.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree.
Yeah.
I think that's one of my favorite projects on your website, at least. It's just the space. It's a nice, clean space to begin with. It seems like, right? But then, like the lightness of touch that you added to it. There's when you look at it, it just feels very minimal and clean. But then when you actually look at it, there's a lot going on, right? But it all works together pretty well.
I designed all the displays and the cash register, the point of sale. And that is actually one that when was published I got an email from an editor from DAS, which is a design architect and style. It's a pretty big European publication, and they found me from Archilovers website, and then I have no idea. It was all in Russian. So I'm not sure what it says, but it's a cool two-page interview and pictures. And I was like 2 pages from one of my favorite architectural firm, Snøhetta, that's from Norway. So they designed the Oslo Opera House. So that was kind of cool I didn't realize how like a big deal it was until I got my copy, and I was like seeing all these, superstars. So it was kind of fun moment.
Nice. I like that. My wife and I actually just put in a application for AIA Colorado Travel Scholarship to just go study 8 Snøhetta projects in Norway. Like just really a real deep dive into Snøhetta and different aspects of their work. Yeah, because I agree. I think they're such a influential firm of just speaking of like collab, right? Like co-working together so well and rooted in place and concept and sustainability and but I think this project seems like it seems very Norwegian, in my simplistic idea of Norwegian architecture, but just the whiteness of it, but then the warmth, is that
it's very Scandinavian, and I think that's probably what's successful because I got to do sort of what comes naturally to me, and that usually translates to end product being good.
Yeah. Was that even in school? Like did you have, I guess, like, did you have to work at that aesthetic, right? Like in school, were they saying, oh yeah, you're a Scandinavian designer, or was it a thing that you sort of had to like relearn how to implement, right?
Probably a little bit. The school, I mean, we did obviously there was different styles that when you did your projects or presentations. I don't think it was as prominent there, but then when I moved here, I think just I'm not back to my roots, but kind of Colorado is a lot more like home. So.
Yeah. Because
this client was sort of like the fact that that's my background and that was the goal. So that was probably the biggest reasons.
And so then did Cobalt come after that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
so Patrick
that again has
me
that
on
same.
track.
Oh, okay, so that was with Track.
Yeah. Track was the architectural firm, and he introduced me to the client. So.
Yeah, because that again, with just like that simple slotted wall and ceiling and the lighting there, and it just creates this really nice effect, right? Especially down there.
You.
And with the integration of the existing wood joists, like that's pretty. Were those existing space, or is that a new space?
Oh, for the slab wall
in the building. Well, for like there's the ceiling joist.
Oh, the joist, yeah, that was all there. Yeah,
that was all there. But it's like so cohesive, even in the same warmth of the wood and everything. Yeah.
That was another fun project where I was given a lot of freedom.
I mean, I know it's like it's kind of in vogue now, I guess, and it's more Danish and Norwegian, but the word like hygge, is that
hygge? Yeah.
Yeah. Is that hygge? Yeah. Well, I worked on a ski resort in the border of Norway and Sweden, and that was like the big thing. We were trying to hit that, whatever that kind of is, but this like cozy like wellness or whatever. But is that something close to like a design philosophy for you, I guess, or is that something you kind of think about?
It is. Yeah, more the minimalistic, cozy clean lines, uh, natural materials. So like Finnish nature, that's my favorite thing when I go home. I go sit in the forest and feel my hygge there. Yeah. I think I love also like the Italian modern, it's a little, the Scandinavian almost like design that just happened. It's so natural.
Are you talking like 1920s, like Italian modern, like that kind of, or a newer?
Newer, yeah.
Yeah, like who are some of those designers,
Like
or projects?
I don't. Who would be? I
Not
don't.
to
It's
put you
like
on the spot.
yeah. Don't put me on the spot. Now I'm blanking on everything. But it's like you want to go sit at Studio Como and just sit there for half a day and in the beautiful Italian furniture and surrounded by that. So kind of probably more of that.
So what I'm really interested in, like the rest of your background, like that idea of business and of broadcasting and even music, like and I think like it had to be a very different experience, obviously, going to design school older and with a kid, right? There's probably not that
Yes.
many of them there, and so that
No.
kind of formed you in a different way, and then getting this experience of kind of like, in a way, being forced to start your own firm, but then
Yeah.
and figuring it out yourself. Like how do you think, do you feel all those influences coming in, like the broadcasting, the business, the design, like in what you're doing now?
It's so funny. I shouldn't even say I went to business school because I struggle with the business part. I think all the creatives, that's nobody's favorite. Like we try to those are the first thing we outsource, like out of the door. I don't know. The music and art, everything, they have similarities. So like dance, the movement, same with the music. So probably some of that. TV broadcasting, not really sure. I was just interested in so many things, and it took me all these turns to figure out what I really want to do. And then going to school in my mid-30s, it's actually, I was intimidated first. I'm like, these are all like in their 20s, and how is this going to work? But there were surprisingly many second career people. There was actually a 60-year-old woman, and she didn't stop at certificate course. She actually went and got an AA, the degree. But I think still maturity was younger. But I got picked a lot for being partners because I wouldn't go to party at Becca's during the week, and I was very reliable mom.
Yeah. I think it's interesting. Like when I went to grad school, I took off like 4 years in between, and coming in with a little more experience versus the people who are younger, and there's definitely like those pros and cons to both of those, right? I mean, like I didn't have a kid yet, so that would have been a lot more of a con of trying to juggle that. But
it wasn't fun. I mean, I worked almost full time, and I went to school in evenings, and then I worked and studied at night and weekends. And that's when I started drinking coffee. I was tea drinker until I went to design school. I would be at the Seattle Coffee like 9 p.m. having my, like, that's not, people don't normally drink coffee that late. But
I guess if it only drove you to drinking coffee, I guess that's not too bad. If it's something stronger, then it could ruin you.
No, that came later.
That came later.
The cork, when starting my own firm. The wine and shots.
No, but I think, it's interesting, the broadcasting background, and, like sweeping the internet, researching you and digging in. It's like it does seem
Uh-oh.
like you. Oh yeah. That's what I do. I just stalk people and then send out emails and see if they want to come and talk to me, or if
Yeah.
they get more creeped out by me. But it seems like, yeah, you engage a lot with people in a very supportive way, and again with like the divas and yeah. I mean, I think this idea of community. I'm interested in this idea of community for here in Colorado, and kind of what is it? How can it be strengthened? And what do you?
Well, it's
do you
amazing what
yeah.
you're doing now. I love this because I've obviously been stalking the same people that you have and admiring their careers, like, Blake and just great, super talented people, but you never knew anything beyond the surface. You see, the work and recognize the names, and I think this was a fabulous idea, what you're doing.
Yeah, thanks.
Interviewing people, and it's such a relaxed atmosphere, and kinda, I'm looking into people are popping in there. And
Yeah, but it takes the engagement of the people, right? And like, it's especially easy now at this time with COVID, where I never go out, and
yeah,
I don't know who listens to this, right? Like, it could just be me and you right now, because you don't really talk to people. But it's nice when people engage and like start kind of building that up. So, who's kind of your community here? Do you feel like you have a design community within the kind of interior design world, or is it more with architects, and kind of who is that?
it's both. I think more with architects, because even though what we do overlaps a little bit, but it's still kind of different scope what we're doing, so it comes easier than when designers who kind of doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes I remember my first internship was in a model merchandising firm, and I went to interview and got the internship, and I come home and tell my husband, like, I'm not gonna last long. It's 12 women there. Like, how is this gonna go? I was so wrong. These were the nicest. The owner was fabulous, and it was such a supportive group. Like, they were doing their own projects, but somebody was struggling or needed help, and people would drop what they're doing and come. And so, and that's where I missed that collaboration. And I kind of got used to it for a year, and I realized that I really enjoy working like that. That I have people that I can bounce ideas back. So I stayed in touch with a couple of people there, and I'm always trying to lure other designers to work with me, so I can have my team without having employees.
Without having to sign their checks. Yeah.
Yes, it's scary that you are not responsible just like your own rent or mortgage, but like all the other people's. That's the scary part of it. And I'm not very boss type. I don't know if that's a good or bad. I'm more like a team worker.
Even after being a mom, doesn't that help train you to be a stern boss?
They were bossing me around. Totally. I have no authority. A little bit.
My daughter can't even talk yet, and she's bossing me around. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you this tip. My daughter started. I was like, why all of a sudden she liked bedtime stories, and then she told me that, Mommy, I'll read you. And this whole time she had iPod hidden under the pillow, and as soon as I'm out, she starts playing Minecraft. So feel free to call me for any tips when
nice.
Gets older. They are clever little creatures.
Yeah. I'm discovering that day by day.
Yeah.
But so what do you know what's next? So what's next with your firm? What's the dream?
Well, I really love the meaningful design. So I'm thinking with this COVID, like, how are we architects and designers are going to design this society so when things shut down, they don't shut down like this. Like, how do we prepare for it? This is not the first pandemic. It's not going to be the last one. So I think we have a great role in that. And I would love to be part of something. I'm pretty ambitious. And the fact that I work alone kind of restricts the size of projects I can work on. But I'm a huge animal lover. So on my list are like sanctuaries and shelters, and how designing those will improve the environment for these residents. And then, of course, boutique hotel. So there's all kinds. I don't think I've had the project yet. I think it's still in my future. So.
Because what are you working on right now? What are some of the exciting things?
I'm working on it's like a 7 square feet residential project. It went on hold last March and just came back.
Oh, nice.
It's going to be ultra modern. It's very exciting.
Who's that with?
There is, I don't know who the architect. It's a female architect. I don't remember the name. I was just had the meeting about, or we're going to have a meeting with her in 2 weeks. And then Rosewater Construction is the construction firm. And they, again, recommended me for that project for the client. And then there's a smaller apartment renovation. So I do both residential and commercial, and people always ask which one is a favorite, and I'm like, the one I haven't worked on lately. So now I'm like craving for a commercial project coming on my table next.
Well, hopefully with this pandemic, hopefully coming to a close soon, we can get more commercial stuff. But well, cool. Well, again, thanks for reaching out and thanks for being engaged. And it was just fun to meet you and hear your story.
Likewise.
So thanks.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, have a good weekend.
You too.
We'll talk later. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you for listening to this week's show.
You can visit architecting.com, that's architect-ing.com, to see images from this week's guest.
And please rate and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.
Have a great week and keep connecting.